So this is a tutorial to just kind of show you how to use a project in After Effects and make adjustments. This is already made. It is not this simple to make things in After Effects as it is to just change the project. So the project has some different options that you can customize. Here is a eyeball. This eyeball turns visibility on and off just like it does in Photoshop. So this is background 1. Now since I turned it off, it's background 2. Now since I turned off background 2, now it's background 3. And if you want to adjust one of these, you can actually click on that layer or that part of the project, and now you can see I have background 3 open or background 1. If I wanted to change the colors and maybe make this maroon and silver, I could click on the control, and then it's going to allow me to go to effects. You might be on project in the beginning, more than likely you will. So you can click on effects control and I can hit reset. Just like in Photoshop, InDesign, or Illustrator, when you see a color box, you can click on it and change the color. So if I wanted to, I could put in a maroon color. You can actually go to the university website and find out what our true maroon color is. I can then change this to maybe a darker gray, and then I can change this one to a lighter gray. Maybe I'll make it more in the maroon range. And so now I have a more maroon color. So if I wanted to adjust background 2, I could do that as well. And now you can see I have a maroon background. However, if I turn on this one, it's still blue and gold because we haven't adjusted that one. So again, we can double click on it. Now you can see it opens it up in a new tab. Click on Control, make sure we're on the Effects tab, and I can go ahead and reset it. If I was doing this, you can actually go to the university's website and find out what our true maroon color is, but I'm just going to eyeball it for the sake of this tutorial. And I'm going to reset to a gray. And now if I wanted to, I could click this close because I don't need it anymore and go back to main because that's where my main project is. And now you can see I have a maroon and gray. The other option you have is you have background 3, which could be an actual image, or it could be a photo. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to get a Dudy Noble field picture. The university actually has some on their website that you could go to. We can say background. Generally they're on the Hail State wallpaper. So we can go here and look and see on these wallpapers. So I can find a Dudy Noble Stadium picture. Probably, or baseballs if I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and go with a widescreen format. I'm going to save image as, and I'm going to save it into my folder. You always want to keep things organized and in your project folder, so that way if you ever try to go back and adjust it, you have it. So mine is in the card file. I would make an images folder, and I would really put all my images in here. I'll make it something smaller, Dudy Noble. So that way I can have it in here, and I should really put the Rooker in there. But if I wanted to, I could then go to this background 3 layer, and you could even put video in here if you wanted. So I could put a Dudy Noble field photo in here, or I could do video. Now the thing about After Effects, it is not going to play your video out in real time. Our computer just isn't powerful enough to do that. You can scrub it by dragging your playhead around and kind of looking at it, but the only way you're truly going to get it is if you actually export it out or render it out. So now you can see I have my Dudy Noble, and all I did was drag and drop. If I wanted to put a video in there, I could do that as well. But if I go back to main, now you'll see it has a Dudy Noble background. So say you had footage of Dudy Noble, you could actually adjust it. Now I can see that when I went to that main, I saw edges. So what we can do is we can adjust the size of this item so that way it's not as small. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and adjust the size. And if we hit this reveal arrow, we can see that we can transform it and we can adjust the scale. So if we want to, let's actually move it so it starts at the beginning. This is kind of like your sequence or timeline. Anything between the slider areas like your in points and out points. So we need to adjust our scale and make it a little bit larger. You can go down here to adjust your zoom, or Command minus is what I did to fit it in here. So then if I wanted to get this hail state out of here, I could just make it larger. However, I've added these keyframes here, so that means it's going to adjust it wherever my playhead is. So I want my playhead at the beginning, so that way it's adjusting it the whole time and it's not zooming in. However, if I did keyframes, I could have it zoom in, but I just want it to be, that size the whole time. So you could actually have it zooming in by moving your playhead and adjusting the scale and adding different keyframes. So now if we go back to main, you can see that the adjustment layer, I need to put it above that, I believe. Well, actually, it's just the background and then the card actually falls to it. So, alright, so what I did is I moved my background above my adjustment layer. You could also have some video footage in here, however you want to make sure it's not too super distracting because you really want your viewer to read the graphic. So I'm going to go back to my main tab, and if I want to adjust and have my headshot in here, I can double click and I can adjust and change stuff. So if I move my playhead here, I can kind of see what I would be writing. Again, I'm going to move out. So if I want, I can click, double click, I can say Brent Rooker. I can say what position he is. If I click on the position tab, if I click here on the number tab, I can actually change what number he is, and then I can change these categories to whatever I want. And then you can go back to your main and you'll see now it says Brent Rooker. So say we wanted to get some Brent Rooker stats. We could go to your hailstate.com. You can go to your baseball. Then you can go to your stats and you can look up some stats here. You also have more information. You can go here and go to quick facts. You can also go to game notes, and that'll give you some other additional information besides just stats, because we know Brent's been doing really well this series, or actually this season. So I can say that he has 57 RBIs. I could change these settings in here. I could talk about his runs, hits, at bats. You don't have to do all of these. You just need to do the ones you want. You also want to think about making sure that the person has time enough to actually read these. So I could then adjust it, and we could go ahead and make some other changes to this graphic. If we click on this right here, this will change it for the other side. Actually, they both changed. To adjust the actual card, you're going to go over here to your project tab, and you'll see you have card left and card right. I can go on here, and if I go to player name, if I want to repeat it, I could also put Brent Rooker, or maybe I want to say SEC Player of the Week. If it's too much, like you can see, I can highlight it. It's disappearing. I can go over here to my font, and I can adjust the font size so it fits. I could also change it. You have the team logo, so if you wanted to, you could actually bring in the team logo, a Mississippi State logo here. You can adjust it. However, maybe I don't want to adjust it. I could just turn it off if I don't want to add it, because you don't want to add too much and make things a little crazy. But this is where your logo would go. If you double click it, you'd actually import a logo like Hail State, or their baseball logo, but their baseball logo would be really, really small. But we can try it real quick and see. Again, we want to keep everything organized. This would have text on it. It would probably be too small. So this doesn't look like it's actually cut out, so you would actually have to cut that out in Photoshop, which is fine. You definitely can do that. It's pretty easy. But let's see. So you can actually cut it out in Photoshop if you wanted to. If we view the image, we can copy the image, make a new one, paste it in Photoshop. 1, 2, 3, 4 tools down, magic wand, just like we've done in other tutorials. We can select the light colors of the white because it's lighter. And then we can then go Shift Command I, or go up to Select Inverse, and then hit Command J, and then you'll notice now if you turn this eyeball off, you have that background layer is gone. So I'm going to delete it and save it as a PSD or a PNG MSU logo. I'll save it in my images, and then we'll go back and we will adjust it in After Effects. So again, I can go File Import or Command I, import my logo. I'm going to choose layer 2. I don't know if we really want to import it. Usually I would do it as a different one, but we shall see. Then I can drag it into where I have my team logo. I can resize it. Hold the shift, if I start resizing and then hold the shift key, it'll stay proportionate. And then I can put the logo right here with this and turn that off. I might want to turn off other parts, but we will see. So now we're going to actually import the Brent Rooker photo, which should actually be in the images file. I can bring in Brent, and then I'm going to have Brent into my photo frame. Now it looks like it's way too large, so again I'm going to hit Command minus to zoom out. I'm going to click with my mouse. Now I'm going to hold the shift key and pull inward so I can fit Brent into this baseball card. And now if I go back to main, we can see, did I do the left? Of course I did the left. So I did the left side. So on the main I can turn off the right and put on the left if I wanted, but so we can do it to the right side as well. We can do the same thing. Go and get the card right. Do the same thing if we wanted. SEC player. SEC player of the week. Can highlight it, adjust the size, maybe turn off the logo. We can bring in our logo and see if this works, and we'll move with it. We shall see. Minus it, zoom out, arrow up top. Arrow, just like in Photoshop, is what allows you to move things in After Effects. I can bring the logo then down here. You can also use your arrow keys on your computer. I'm going to turn off the team logo text right here because we don't need to see that. If we have the logo, then we're going to bring in Brent Rooker's photo, click over it on the baseball layer, it kind of mats it in there. Click, hold the shift key, drag down. The shift key allows it to be done proportionately. Alright, now it's back. And now you can see, now we have what it would look like. It would be this video, it would play, and then slowly the card would kind of flop in there, and the text would come as well. So once you get it the way you like it, be it with the background, or you with your Duty Noble image, whatever you want, then instead of exporting, a lot of people think of exporting when it comes to, After Effects, if it's their first time because they're used to exporting with Adobe Premiere. You actually want to add it to the render queue, and then you're going to export it out that way. I don't like to do the media encoder, I just like to add the render queue. You can also say add composition to render queue, which is what I tend to do. And then it's going to go down at the bottom, it's going to be your last one. Then you click on the word, double click on the word. And then you can go and say composition, add to render queue, and then it's always going to be the one on the very bottom. So it's going to tell you what it's coming from, which is the main. I'm going to click on best settings. You do want best settings. You do want full resolution. You don't want half. You'll see it's 1920 by 1080, which is our standard size. Computer frame rate is 30. You can always export this back out. You are going to have to export this back out with the proper settings for the TV Studio, otherwise it will not work. So I'll always just export it out and then adjust it afterwards. Then I'm going to go down and click on lossless to see what my settings are. I don't need millions of colors plus. If you do millions of colors plus, it is often for an alpha channel. We do want RGB. We don't need to resize it. We don't need any audio. You can change the format here if you wanted to. You could change it to some of the other settings, but you can see we don't have the video settings we really need for class. Animation you can use. That's a very high quality setting. It often will take longer, so sometimes if I need it done quickly, I'll export it out as a H.264, so that way I can get it out a little bit quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK because I took the audio input off. And then output to, this is where you're going to tell it where you want it to go, and I'm going to call it Rooker Test. I do want it as a QuickTime format, and then I'm going to go ahead and save it in my project folder and say save, and then you're going to hit render. It's saying that I had files missing, so we'll see how that goes. But this often will take a long time, depending on the project. Every time something moves, twinkles, or adjusts, then you're going to have it move, twinkle, and adjust, and it can take a long time. I've exported out a video that was 20 seconds long, and it took a couple hours to export. This one, you can see it says it's only going to take about 4 minutes. This is a pretty simple project. However, once you start getting into larger projects, it can take a lot of time. So we're going to go ahead and let this little bad boy render out. Animations are not really going to play very well in your software, so you'll often have to then import it into your Adobe Premiere, and then you're going to export it out as your file that you need for the TV show. So I'm going to go ahead and temporarily open this. Hopefully my computer doesn't explode because I have Photoshop open and Adobe After Effects, which is a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and quit Photoshop because it's just got a lot. Oop, I accidentally quit Premiere because my computer was too fast. So I'm going to quit Photoshop. I'm going to go back to Premiere because I have about a minute left. And then I'm going to re-export this out as that proper file format for our TV show. So I know it went kind of fast, but you have the option of going back and re-watching it. And I'll make some edits to edit out some little quick hiccups I've had. So we're just going to say, instead of new project, I'm going to go and open up an old project. I'm going to open up our open that I have on my computer, so that way if anything happens, I always have it on my computer. So we're going to go ahead and open up the open. The nice thing about this project for me is I always have it already set up for exporting it for the TV show. I have the proper sequence settings, and I also have the proper export settings generally. However, the last things I've exported were not for the TV show. So I'm going to go find that file. I'm going to bring in that file, Rooker Test, and then I'm going to bring it into my timeline, and then you can see this is what it's going to look like. Now again, it's not playing out right because it's an animation file. So if I did need to export this for the TV show, I would then go ahead and export it for the TV show. But for purposes of you seeing it, we're just going to delete it, and we're going to go to the internet and export it with an internet setting so I can play it in my QuickTime player. So we'll again call this test Rooker or final test. So again, it's on my H.264. We're going to put it in my hard drive, in my project folder to keep everything organized. Generally, I'll have an exported videos folder, so I can always just go there for my exported videos. So now I'm going to go find this. I'm going to quit this. I don't need to save it because I don't want to save it. I'm going to quit After Effects. Sure, I can save it, no big deal. I can call it my converted because I converted it from a different version. And then I'm going to go to my software, and then here is your graphic.